天际线等以后出了官方mod的平台，游戏在更新的时候，那肯定也要跳过更新的那天，就看他们运气好不好。比如说，我记得之前星空更新的一次是正好那是我刚玩完它的一天，所以我有2天时间可以给它更 mod， 然后很多 mod 就更完了，我就陪玩。那如果正好撞到那天，那就没办法了。我们的新亚特兰蒂斯非常漂亮。上次呢，我们是在这边建立了一个附水镇 ，Watery， 这个小小的美式小城。今天呢，我们需要干的一件事情其实是，大家看到这里，这个丑的要死的区域必须被全面重做。没问你 ，Siri。天，地方过于丑陋了，主要是这一块太难看了。我要把这边撤。这边我们要建立层次的话，肯定要选择一些不一样的做法。这边是校区，首先值得注意的一点。换成欧风，这边是比较欧风的点。谁让你们建这些小楼的？你们给我建长一点呗，真的是。公园。这个地方必须要建的比较宜人。足球场多大来着？足球场还是挺大的。滑板公园，这边建个滑板公园倒是蛮合适。小型公园。小型操场，这样中间可以留着2棵树，这2棵树我想留着。这边我们要来一点低密度建筑，但如果我想留住这棵树的话，啊靠 shit， 算了，没了就没了。比较低的楼是什么？是高密度建筑。那我来点高密度商业，因为不想让它太高，这边的这样的层次才能把控好。 过渡过去的层次。这种三角形的地段很适合做一个公园。The fuck happened here？ 建个大点的呀，这什么意思啊 ？shit， 内存很大程度上就是为了这个游戏准备的，没错，你猜对。96G 内存，天际线就是给天际线准备的。小型广场。这边我们三角形中间就留出一个公园出来。然后我们可以做一些装饰，这个路的话，我尽可能想让它不干扰这些树，所以我们需要注意一下，比如说，你看在这个地方建，它就不会碰到这些树。让它在这个中间穿过去。让它完美的从树丛中间穿过去。啊，非常漂亮啊！这个小路，林中小径。这个地方也一样，接过来，这两边可以画一条。哎，这个公园道路必须要四通八达，你要确保像这种公共公园，每一个就是三边路起码都有能方便到的地方，否则会导致一个什么问题呢？就是导致，会踩出泥泾来。虽然这些草坪本来也是让人踩，但是最好还是不要。像这样的话，然后我们可以把这边，因为公园嘛，就应该建一些那个，特别是这边还是个小学，小学门口的这么一个公园。但我觉得就这么留着最好，不要放。我把这个撤掉 ，zoning 撤掉，就这样子挺好看。对面可以放一个低密度商业，因为公园对面有几家小商店嘛，就很合理。我们现在要优化这个欧洲区的情况。那还有个问题是停车有点太过了。小学这一边允许停车，但是这一边就不允许停车，不能什么鬼地方都允许停车。我觉得单侧停车已经挺好的了，没必要双侧停车。 里也都一样。这条街不能停，这条街看着也太挤了。公园附近这边围成一个这样子的，倒是挺好的。这个地方啊，商住两用。现在我还没打任何帽子。我觉得这公园附近也需要个停车场，首先。
A driving advisory has been issued for the immediate area due to poor road conditions. Please exercise caution if you must drive and try to stay off the streets until conditions improve. This has been a local public service announcement.
You're listening to Second Moon, the epitome of classical listening at home or wherever you roam.
A housing shortage is driving up prices in the area.
That's right, Glenda. But apparently that's not all good news. We're joined today by an expert guest,
应该需要个
Professor
曲化吧，我
Nutbutter.
看。
Welcome, Professor.
观
So
察。
a housing shortage is bad for the people trying to move here, right?
Humans are programmed to desire certain representations within ideological reward structures, which are entirely apart from the actual
我感觉
rewards
需要曲化，但是
enjoyed.
这个地方的
For
问题是它已经没法曲
example,
化了。
consider capital.
One final question, Professor. Is the housing shortage
No,
going
no.
to make me richer?
By certain metrics, perhaps yes, in the short term.
I like the sound of that.
But what we are discussing is the study of a statistical abstraction and its effect on the human
Thank you, Professor.
It is a question of priorities.
这太挤。
This just in from traffic. If you're thinking about hitting the streets, you can expect delays on the
不过这边
major
的堵
roads,
车问题挺
especially
大
during
的。
rush hour.
Good to know, Jim. Seems like everyone is in a hurry to get somewhere fast. It's worth slowing down.
这个地方必
And
须
if you
改，
can, plan your trip
但是怎么改？
outside the rush.
Oh, I don't know. I'd rather wait an hour in traffic than to have to start thinking about everything all the time. Besides, if I did that, I'd never get anywhere.
嗯。 车道非对称，看它。 还是有点堵，但是比之前确实好多。不过如果把这边改成一个环岛，会不会更好一些？遇事不决上环岛是吧？问题是环岛会把这个建筑消灭掉。但这个建筑放在这里真的很好看，因为它是个圆形的，我实在不想消灭掉，它太合适了，让我现在有点纠结。等再看看，这边如果还堵得很严重的话，再改。这边又怎么了？这个是因为啊，这是廉租公寓是吧？没有人要廉租公寓了，经典。没有人要廉租公寓，那不是这明明不就是廉租？确实没有人要廉租，是个问题。暂时改成办公了。公园维护，等 DLC 呢？DLC 就要出船。City Park District， 这车的建模精细度真够高的，我的天！大家回去看看1代的车建模是什么样子就知道了，这完全不是一个时代的。天！这车还在打转向灯，这个灯的质感也特别好，还有这个倒影车顶上的这个红绿灯的影子。说实话，这个画面啊，完全已经达到 PS3、Xbox 360时候的那些都市，就真的是画面完全是那个水平，没有任何问题。一个城市模拟游戏居然能细到这个程度。跟随着这辆是公园维护车，他在干嘛？你是，不过这个穿模问题还是少不了，这个穿模还是没办法。对，这是最高画面。他没法考虑那么多事，也不现实。还要管穿模， 它如果视野能锁定就好，视角就是我能锁定，让它永远跟在这个车尾。因为它现在它车转弯的时候，你是镜头还是会停在那里。如果它想干脆让它做一个那种跟随车的视角就好。还戴眼镜呢，戴着墨镜，这帮人穿着运动鞋，这真是够惊喜哇！戴着耳机，然后他们在 Don't Walk 响的时候还会快跑，这些小细节。哎，这车怎么不动啊？哦，还没有。靠，前面堵了！我说怎么不动？这堵了，人好多呀！这城市里，到处都是人。看看这位骑摩托的，戴着摩托头盔。Golden Retriever， 这是什么类型的狗啊？话说金毛吗？看不出来，看着比金毛颜色要更深，应该不是金毛。看这些人在我们的公园里面啊，这只狗在我们的公园里面漫步。温城是30万人了，原来已经30万。但是你看，这个建成的面积还有很多地方可以建，建成区的面积其实不大，密度也不是很高。我们城市的密度是真的不是很高，你可以看到这绿化面积有多恐怖。这个是我们城市的第1座发电厂，它如今在这里都已经关了，就当做一个这种景点保留。这毕竟是整个城市的第1座发电厂，小型火力发电厂，如今成为了一个类似公园的地方。还没蒸发完，那好像好了一点。 对我就没有把这些都拆掉，我打算这个城市就是要有一定的这种历史
You're
的
listening to
遗迹。
Second Moon Radio with
当
J.
年工业
Thomas
区在这
Hornbuckle.
边，我们虽然
And
别的
we're
工业区都
playing
拆
some
了，
of
但
the
是就留
finest
下了这个
classical
火
music
电
on the
这个火力
air.
发电
Keep that
厂，
dial right
作
here.
为纪念。
And on to our main feature story. The
城市一
commercial
开始
district
是在
is
这个区
booming
域的，
as the area is
然后我们理
attracting
所应
more
当的旁边
high-end
就是这个
stores,
工业区
bringing
了。
the latest in luxury
这
to
个海
our
底隧道
neighborhood.
是这两
You can
边，
now shop for
杰米森
designer
峡湾
shoes while sipping a
这一
fancy
侧
local
通
Java
到这一
mate.
侧，
Or so my wife
这
tells
样子
me. That's good for business and good for the community.
极大缩短了我们
We'll be back after this.
通过神兵湾的速度，因
Interesting
为
news from
一
the
个难
city's
点是
export
神兵湾
division.
这边，
Sources tell us that
它这个
our
哎，这
city
个
has
电台能
more
不能先闭
services
嘴？
than we
真
know
的
what
是
to do with.
And
那个神兵湾这边，你本来啊要，因为它两边是山，这是山，这也是山，就很麻烦。你要么就和工业区抢道路嘛，要么就要绕整个这一大片。所以我们通了这个海底隧道以后，就很爽，就可以这个直接通过杰米森城市公园这边连到这个机场小镇这里，并且也能给那个城市内的那些商家取货，来货港取货提供一个更好的、更快的途径。毕竟这两边是这个货运港。哎，刚才有鸟，哇，看这个鹅，哇，这鹅的建模好精细啊，朋友们，这啊，我第一次看到，这是我在这游戏里第一次注意到鹅，我靠，我的天！哇！来给他们拍几张，景深，我景深呢？近距拍摄，远距拍摄。这个红色的大桥是金门大桥，豪华版带的。对，终极版带，金门大桥。我要开个自由视角，这群鹅呢，在这儿。鹅，哎，等一辆火车过来。 对，让我先把这个景深调好，等一辆火车过来不就好了，不就爽？拍一个他们的合影，哎。这照片绝对好看。我们开启模拟近代火，靠！我忘了开启模拟，他们也会飞，直接跑了。这，别！哎呦我靠！哎，你们待好。哎，这样，这个角度也不错。别乱飞了，行了，不等火车来了，行了吧？真的是。行，好。混蛋，太混蛋了。建模精度是真够高的，其实你根本就看不到，都不是说你会不会看。你看我玩这游戏200多个小时，一次都没注意过这游戏里有鹅，从来没注意到过。但是它依然做得很细。这是Goose 野生动物摄影，今天是野生动物摄影。而且他们还有一只领头的，就是他们这个阵型还有一只鹅是负责领头的，像大雁一样。等等，大雁和鹅不是一个东西，我也不认识，我忘了。哇，后面还有个飞机！哇，这构图如何？这构图真不错，我觉得。比翼齐飞啊！比翼齐飞，我靠，太漂亮了 ！Beautiful， 太漂亮了！还可以让它显得更大。哎，鹅呢？鹅呢？点，这个焦距开大啊，焦距开大了找不到。哎，那这样这个构图更好，这一群鹅不比那一只有意思。这个呀，啊，这构图多么完美！鹅群中混进一个奇怪的东西，飞机。 这幅图可以作为我们的旅游宣传，这种城堡和那个鹅群。如果它照片模式能改季节就好了，我希望要是有一天。还有改天气，能直接改下雨或者不下雨，或者大雾或者怎么样。但是它的拍照模式已经是现在电子游戏里最强的之一了，这是绝对的。它这拍照模式没几个游戏能比了，已经。哇，第一次见到原来有鹅、鲸了。我们跟着他们一起翱翔吧。跟着头，跟着那只。它怎么这鹅怎么还会悬停啊？直升鹅。啊，这鹅会落到水面？哇，大家，我操，做这么细啊！这鹅做到水面以后，改成了在水上游泳的动作。我操！哎，这是城市模拟游戏吗？这真的是城市模拟游戏吗？啊！只是它好像卡了，但是它还真有这切换。它周围的别的鹅卡 bug 了。这。哎，你们不要卡 bug！ 你们这是什么神奇的仪式
？Toaster works fine if you flip the bread.
Sheep and random.
这鹅都撅着屁股。
That is a frog nut extraction.
Sheep and random. You never know what you're gonna get, and you never will unless you come find out.
撅着屁股也要给他们拍一张。鹅鹅鹅，曲项向天歌，灰毛浮绿水。毕竟这边是灰的，红掌拨清波。好了，这群鹅呢？这群鹅到哪去了？太小了，你知道吗？这根本找不到，平时就我都没有见过。哦，这儿呢，这儿呢，这儿呢！靠，他们又起飞了，他们起飞了。
The thick smoke rising from the fire makes the air dangerous to breathe.
Citizens
are advised to vacate any premises near the fires and remain at a safe distance until emergency services manage to get the fires under control.
哇！又降落了，鹅又降落。 里，让我抓一只，找找。傻妹，傻妹，傻妹，我上次看到傻妹了，怎么不出来啊？鲨鱼都死绝了，估计。鲨鱼，鲨鱼没了，灭绝了。我的海域里的鲨鱼呢？怎么这么大个机场只需要50个员工啊？这么大个机场难道不应该几百个员工吗？这是不是很离谱？这可是大国际机场，光是保洁人员估计都要50个。他这工作岗位给的太少。加加林太空港为什么根本就没有人来啊？根本就没有人来太空港上班，是为什么？我操！是不是啊？公共交通，我怀疑，对，他们没有人能来这里上班。那我们需要给这些人做一个能让他们来上班的公交站。这个公交站的话，在这里换乘应该就够了。哎，等等，我操！我怎么把这个大桥变成单行道了？那也就是那怪，操！那这能有人来上班就见了鬼了呢！哈，什么呀？我在这搞。这个是太空港接驳车，我们要在这里放一个站。对了，如果大家不知道的话，你比如说你在建公交的时候，你想在一个地方放一个站，但是你还没有提前建站，你就在那里点一下就行。然后你在那边可以随便建完一个站以后，再把那个点移到那个站上面就完事。你不用非要先建站，我想。国际机场人不少啊。这个机场有点像新亚那个车站，因为它在底下有一个玻璃罩。 这里怎么这么危险？这些人居然没有屏蔽门。北美怎么就车站这么讨厌屏蔽门？没屏蔽门好危险。就停了一辆车，还有什么 city service 没建呢？话说，为什么这边感觉这么多锯齿啊？靠，这是我的锅，这边没平好，全是锯齿。太吓人了，这是怎么发射失败了吗？这飞行方向不太对呀。你说我这一张截图放出去，我不标游戏，有人能猜出来是什么游戏吗？不觉得有人能猜出来是什么游戏？我就放在这里。Guess the game， 到时候。他出地球了，火箭出了地球。飞机。
Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick. Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stops it to death? Digital! Then come on down to Think Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital! Think Digital! It's...
新亚特兰蒂斯4。现在我有个想法是，我想把这两个城市连起来。如果我们想把这两个城市连起来，就是代表我们要完全重做这一整个高速，也就是它要做高架，也是不能做这种高速。这种高速其实是最不友好的，对于城市来说也是。这绝对不推荐城市里有这种高速，这种把城市直接一切为二的。你只能通过仅剩的几个桥连接，这肯定是不理想。所以我打算大概从这个地方开始，我要重做这一段。全部改成高架。洛杉矶包括很多北美城市最为人诟病的就是总是用一条高速把城市给切了。亚洲城市一般都会大量用高架来避免把城市地面就几个社区直接给咔切为二那种。所以我们这边也要高速对于大城市来说还是必不可少，否则就堵车。所以说我们就高架就是最好的解决方案。打开平行，0.5正好。话说这个是多高啊？这边差不多要到20是吗？这样我觉得很好哎，这建的比这么容易啊！原来，它这个新的道路工具就这样平行，自己给你，甚至这是2条道连的，也处理的也比较完美。我看，我们只需要把这里2代这个道路工具造这些路比1代容易太多，我们只需要把这边给让它禁止左转。因为你的间距问题，这是合起来的，并到不合起来。然后这底下就变成高架了，这样子的话，城市的这2边社区就可以完全接壤在一起了，再也不会被一条高速公路一切为二。这样也会让这些高速的压力变小，相对的，因为本地交通不再需要访问高架枢纽。带来的只有优点。接下来我们只需要把2边连起来，比如说，这里。这边碰到柱子，我们需要歪一下。 我就在那等它更新那个，什么时候快点有，就是高架桥的隔音墙，现在没有高架桥的隔音墙，对，现在放不了。而且这边也可以加一个那个匝道入口，如果是这样的，把这边连起来。不要平行。太陡，大概多长啊？这118米。啊，160，差不多这么长。我觉得倒不如反向来接这个，从这边伸出来，可能要好一点。像这样，然后再返回去。这个高架主要是它太高了，其实这路会不会太陡啊？是不是也不算太陡？ 这个地方也不需要 roundabout， 可以总算直接连起来。好，画法，画法还可以。这边，对，你可以放低密度办公也行。那个太大。
Now entering Fit Digital Games. Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick. Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stops it to death? Digital! Then come on down to Thick Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then
这地方不好看，这个转角处，因为地形的原因。下来，看来这个没办法。不过这一侧就需要隔音障。那真的这个，我他妈的不能两边都要隔音障了。我不能桥上也要。这个是我最不理解的，也是最应该有。实在是不知道为什么。你这个模型都做了，对吧？隔音障，但是不让用，知道吧？这边我改一下，要稍微拉远一点。还是不行。稍微再拉远点。哦，是这里。我先建完这隔音障再建这个，这样会不会好一些？把它拉到最近能拉的地方，然后把剩下的这些给对上去。 哎，这样就可以，这样就可以。这里也是一样的问题。这边先不管那边，我们先一边一边来。地形平滑，东西。给我点成什么？真的怀疑是我鼠标有问题，要么就是这游戏有 bug。感觉别的游戏里没有这个问题。 这边下面其实可以多出来一些。你们这一堆长得一毛一样的房子是几个意思？不适宜建筑性到底是怎么回事？是地价的问题？没有污染。小区。
Now entering thick digital games. Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick. Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stops it to death? Digital! Then come on down to Thick Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital! Thick Digital! It's all out war.
River Run。 满了，这车都。咱们这也没必要停这么贵吧，而且就算是这个市区也不是人特别多，20就行。这边最好能建出那个挡板了，毕竟太高了，总感觉这样不安全。靠！我要看。哎，这样有个护坡就好多了，看。完美，完美。咱们现在就要细化这些细节。 6，这面面俱到也没有一个。曾经也是个高速公路，被我们删了。
Those rides when you demand perfection.
Welcome to Denny's Denims, where we got every denim you can imagine. We got square dancing foxtrots and hide-away at home dirty denims. Skirts and hats, belts and boots. We can cover you head to toe if that's what you like. Even got your dang old denim leg garters for the boys who love that denim real good. You ever wear a denim vest? I'll tell you, girl, you will have them swarming. You'll see. Come on down to Denny's Denims. I'll set you up. Don't ask for Denny.
欢迎来到丹尼的那个餐馆。你要什么我们都能给，但是千万别问丹尼是谁。 这边怎么如此之丑陋 ？What the fuck？ 不知道，还以为有钉子户住在中间，简直，这可不行，丑死了。 哇，这边怎么堵成这鬼样子 ？Holy shit！ 这，你们真是离谱！为什么所有人都要从这里下来？而且有个很大的问题，他们不提前变道。 他们很多人都不提前变道，啊，后面的车全给堵了。取消，不准下了，真的是。 我看谁还敢下，我把它拆了，临时。金时刻 ，Golden Hour。 现在有雇员了，加加林太空港。之前太搞笑了。我操，飞机追尾！嗨，你们俩找死呢，这么飞！Holy shit！ 哇，发射！航向星空 ，To the star view。哇！到一定高度以后，你向上看，你的火焰就不见了。哦，除非你离得更近。不知道这是角度还是怎么回事，什么东西导致的？这幅图谁看得出来是城市天际线的线？对，人家以为是坎贝拉太空计划。这火箭像爆了一样，这事故现场，你感觉是？靠！夜晚就是欣赏城市的时候，让我们把景深切换成那个移轴，然后我们把性能优先改成模拟速度，而不是帧率，而不是平衡，时间会过得更快。就是而且你看这种移轴快放效果也更好。反正这时候你不需要帧数。 车呢？我想看看我的车过来，然后我要把那个忘了设了，我把 FSR 关了。这种是，拉到100%。
Thick digital games. Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick. Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stomps it to death? Digital! Then come on down to Thick Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital! Thick Digital! It's all out war.
Welcome to Denny's Denims, where we got every denim you can imagine. We got square dance and foxtrots and hide-away at home dirty denims. Skirts and hats, belts and boots. We can cover you head to toe if that's what you like. Even got your dang old denim leg garters for the boys who love that denim real good. You ever wear a denim vest? I'll tell you, girl, you will have them swarming. You'll see. Come on down to Denny's Denims. I'll set you up. Don't ask for Denny.
可以给大家稍微调亮点，因为我知道你们那边可能 OLED，好像也没有。我看我这边 iPad 上监控还行，也不用调特别亮。你稍微亮一点。哎，不要动，拍照。哎，这个车正好过来，总算等到地铁了。
G'day guys, I'm finally doing it to look to the game, so and I also kind of just want to see the way that the trees look at the moment, because using some of these signature buildings which I don't have anything
Land neighborhood. This changes everything.
What's even going on? Zoning, and it's also pretty cool that service buildings now actually have a proper job count instead of these arbitrarily low numbers. So yeah, definitely gonna use.
What can Toronto learn from Tokyo's urban plan?
I traveled to Tokyo right after I graduated from architecture school. I was a new architect and I was very excited to explore a new city, a new type of architecture, and a new urban design strategies. While I was there, I was surprised to see how Tokyo, one of the most dense cities in the world, actually has a vast majority that is low-rise buildings, in a way similar to Toronto. So after living here for 8 years, I had the opportunity to reflect back on Tokyo's urban planning system and see what could be used here in Toronto, perhaps. So I would like to share the 3 top things I wish Toronto could adopt from Tokyo's urban planning system. Number 1, flexible zoning. Tokyo, Yokohama is the largest urban area in the world with population of 38 million people and a density of 2642 people per square kilometer. In comparison, the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, has a population of 6.5 million and 849 people per kilometer. There are many reasons why Tokyo is much denser than Toronto, but perhaps one of them is the flexible zoning system that Tokyo has that doesn't have as much bureaucracy as we have here in Toronto. First of all, the zoning is set by the national government and implemented by the municipalities, unlike here in North America when the zoning is set by the municipality. So the national government outlined 12 zones.
可以看一下东京的这个是怎么画 zone。黄的就是可以建的，比如说第一类 exclusively low-rise residential， 你可以建什么呢？在这一种类别上，你可以建，比如说房子，然后呢，也可以建有其他的小型的功能，比如说商店、办公室，你可以建学校，这个神社、诊所、教堂。这个只是第一类，就是东京，包括我不知道日本别的地方是不是，反正他们那边用的 zoning 的这个怎么说概念和北美是截然不同。第二类也是这个第二类 low rise 多的是一个 stores 商店，然后这边写的是主要售卖的是这个奶制品，是这意思吗 ？Dairy commodities restaurants with floor space， 然后它有个限制是。你也可以开餐厅，在这个2类低密度住宅区，你是可以开餐厅的，你不需要额外审批这个 zoning 的类型的。但是你的营业面积不能超过150平米，然后在第1层或者第2层，这就是为什么日本的市区你会看到大量的在小巷、街头巷尾的那种小餐馆，就是因为这个原因，他们全都是混在一起的。第3类中高密度导向的住宅区。这个呢，额外开放了，你可以建医院，甚至大学，很神奇。为什么大学会被划在这个中高密度导向的住宅区？但是这个时候你已经可以建500平米左右的这个餐厅了。然后是这个中高导向的第2类，这边你可以建，比如说你可以建商店和这个餐厅，但是不受限制，就没有面积限制。然后也这个还有办公室，但是这里呢也有2个额外的，就是它这个面积限制呢是升到了1500平米，你不能超过1500平米，你不能超过3层，总共面积1500平，不能超过3层。然后1类住宅区则是多了一个，你可以建酒店 BBB 是不能超过总建筑面积3000平米。然后粉色是这个2类住宅区，2类住宅区多了一个，你可以建卡拉 OK 啊，当然下面还有这边 independent garage with a floor， 然后你可以建独立车库，第1楼或者2楼，他们弄得很细致。比如说你要在这种情况下，我想建个独立车库，1楼、2楼，那我3楼应该去，如果你不超过3楼的话，3楼可以建个餐厅，是这个意思吗？应该是。然后在这2类里，你还可以建这个修车店。总而言之，就是日本的这个 zoning 系统啊，全都是混搭的，不是说我低密度住宅我就只能建低密度住宅，而是说你一样可以直接把你，比如说我把这块地买了，这块地的画的是低密度住宅，要是在北美，你就只能建低密度住宅，你是不允许开餐厅的。 这和营业执照都没有关系，就是这个区划就是不允许你在这里开餐厅。但是如果你在东京，你买下了这块地，它就是允许你可以直接说我这办个幼儿园，我这办个小餐厅、小饭馆，你是不需要再额外的经过这个市政的区划审批的，起码营业执照应该还是要申请。所以这就导致了东京这个市容面积非常灵活，然后生活非常方便，因为你街头巷尾全都有各种各样的服务设施和商业设施，不会说像北美这种，我给你铺一个大饼，全是低密度住宅，然后没有人允许在这里开餐厅，然后你如果没有车的话，你走20分钟也见不到一个餐厅，在东京几乎不会出现这种情况。这也是东京的城市规划适合人，特别是行人居住的一个很重要的原因。
Ranging from low-rise residential to industrial. The zones are transparent and flexible, and even the most rigid zoning category allows for low-rise residential to have a home-based business or a small retail company. Floor area ratio, or FAR, is the ratio between a building area and the lot size is still being used as a tool or limits the density, but it doesn't dictate the shape or the build form of what could be built. So it means that in low-rise residential zones, even duplexes, triplexes, low-rise apartment buildings are allowed as long as they meet the FAR requirements. Another interesting fact in this zoning is that the less sensitive a zone is, the wider range of uses it allows. So for instance, the most restrictive zone allows for houses, schools, and houses with home-based business. The next less restrictive zone allows for all of that plus small stores or restaurants. The next category that is less restrictive allows for all of that plus universities, hospitals, and much larger commercial areas. So there are some exceptions when it comes to industrial zones, but this pattern continues, and the less restrictive a zone is, it allows for a wider range of uses. Toronto zoning couldn't be more different. We have 25 core categories. Each of them has exceptions or fine-tuned details that you need to follow, making innovation or creativity much harder to act within that rigid system. So more flexibility on the zoning could definitely mean a step forward for affordability and for more housing typologies generally. Number 2, utilization of small-sized lots. Let's take a look at Tokyo's creative approach on building taller on small parcels of land, which was also one of the most remarkable memories I have from this trip. Because in Toronto, too often, small and awkward shaped lots mean they will be left empty because our conventional design couldn't fit. And high restrictions coming from the policy will make it much harder to ever be built because it doesn't make any sense. And it's not just the policy and zoning to be blamed. The building code, especially the one that we use here in Ontario, is known to be one of the most rigid and restrictive building code, leaving many talented architects with their hands tied behind their back doing anything but the conventional design. Number 3, mixed-use hubs in transit stations. First of all, Japanese railways are completely privatized. So the lack of funding from the government plus the high cost of construction result in truly mixed-use communities or hubs in every transit station. Because the integration of residential, office, retail, entertainment, dining, shopping, all in proximity to transit, allow the companies to be more profitable. Here in Toronto, we rarely see that, this true mixed-use hub near every transit station, especially on the GO network, but there's hope. Toronto is definitely heading in the right direction, and we see that in the East Harbour Master Plan, for example. Having said all that, it's really important to acknowledge that the Tokyo's model works so well because less than 30% of Tokyo residents are depending on their car daily, while here in Toronto is the exact opposite, with 70% of Torontonians are using their car daily. So if we want to get the most out of transit-oriented communities, we probably have a long way to go to make sure that it all works together. That's it for the 3 things I wish Toronto would adopt from Tokyo's urban planning system. Thanks for watching.
我就喜欢用这个城市的夜间放着旁边的移轴摄影来找一些有意思的 urban planning 视频看。Mega cities.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream. When you sign up at the link in the description, you also get access to Nebula, a streaming video service that City Beautiful is a part of. The Tokyo metro area has over 37 million people. It's the largest urban area in the world. Every day that the city grows, it shows us how much bigger a city can get. Many of today's largest cities are in Asia, but demographic forecasters anticipate that fast-growing African cities may overtake Asia in the near future. One projection has Kinshasa at over 83 million people in 2100. And if the cities in the Pearl River Delta eventually merge, it will form a city of over 120 million people. That's over 3 Tokyos. What would a city of over 120 million people look like? And is that even the upper limit for how big a city can get? And would we even want to live there? I'm pretty sure that a single city would never be as large as the Star Wars city planet of Coruscant. But in this video, we'll use what we know about megacities to make an educated guess about how big a single urban area can get. There are currently 33 megacities in the world right now. The United Nations defines a megacity as an urban region with a population of over 10 million people. The UN predicts that 10 more regions will join the 8-digit club by 2030. And by that year, nearly 10% of people on Earth will be living in megacities. And for the purposes of this video, I'm coining the term gigacity to mean any contiguous urban area with a population greater than 100 million people. We'll get to those in a minute. Megacities are typically divided into 2 groups. First, you have cities like New York, Tokyo, London, and Paris, cities in wealthy nations. They are typified by post-industrial economies and slow population growth. Then you have cities like Delhi, Dhaka, and Karachi, cities in developing nations. These cities are rapidly industrializing and growing rapidly as well, as migrants from the rural hinterlands flood into the city to seek economic opportunities that the city provides. Many are growing so fast that migration is outstripping economic growth and available affordable housing, leading to informal settlements and informal economies. So Tokyo probably will not be the biggest city in the world for long. Growth rates suggest that the next city pushing the boundaries of what is possible will probably be a Cairo, Kinshasa, or Mumbai. They could show us what a city of 60 or even 80 million people looks like. But there is another possibility. A gigacity formed from several large cities or several megacities merging together. And this would push the boundaries of how large an urban area could get. We're talking populations north of 120 million people. That's the population of Japan or Mexico. That city would be the equivalent of the 12th largest country in the world if it was one. These possible gigacities would be the result of the cities in a megalopolis merging into one contiguous urban area. A megalopolis is a cluster of nearby metropolitan areas. For example, the Northeast megalopolis is an area on the eastern seaboard of the United States that goes from Boston down to Washington and includes the cities of New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. It would be difficult to imagine any sort of dense development connecting all of these cities, at least in the near future, nor someone from Washington really feeling like they were in the same urban area as someone in Boston. But given enough time and enough urban growth, it could happen. The Northeast megalopolis is not a good candidate for the world's largest city, and that's primarily because of its slow growth. But there are 3 regions in China definitely in the running. China's government has been promoting regional urban cooperation as a means of providing prosperity to its residents, even as the developing nation's economy begins to slow down. The first of these regions is the Pearl River Delta, home to Hong Kong, Macau, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and several other cities with millions of people each. The official population total for this area is 65 million, but because there's incomplete data for internal migrants, some estimates put the total to be as high as 120 million. The cities of the Pearl River Delta are still mostly separate, but they're growing fast and growing together. Another possible gigaregion is in the Beijing area. It's sometimes known as the Jing-Jin-Ji, or just the JJJ region, short for Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei. This gigacity would be home to over 130 million people when the cities merge together. Finally, the region around Shanghai, the Yangtze Delta area, could form into the largest urban area on Earth. If all of the provinces in the area, Shanghai, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Anhui form into one continuous urban area, it would have a population of 220 million people. That's the number today. It would likely be higher once all of the new urbanization is built to connect the 27 core cities in the region. A fully connected Yangtze Delta could have 250 to 300 million people in the future. There are limits to even China's growth. The nation's birth rates are declining, meaning that the rapid urbanization trends of the 20th century are unlikely to continue unabated into the 21st century. And this is true worldwide as well. According to a projection by the Pew Research Center, Earth will reach a peak population of 10.9 billion people by the year 2100. And while India is on track to surpass China in population, it will likely top out at 1.5 billion people. So while it's possible that an Indian megalopolis will surpass one of China's, there likely won't be enough people on Earth in a particular country to lead to one megalopolis greater than, say, 300 million people, at least not within the next century or so. There are other urban planning related challenges that will also limit growth. For example, all cities need a healthy supply of natural resources to sustain its population. Things like energy, food, and goods. It's possible to imagine a city of any size generating enough energy within its own borders using a mix of nuclear and renewable resources, but it's harder to make water appear out of nowhere. Already, China's megacities are pumping groundwater at unsustainable rates. And this isn't just a problem in China. The megacity of Los Angeles has historically been constrained by its access to water, and has resorted to piping fresh water from hundreds of miles away. It's the entire plot of the classic movie Chinatown. Desalination, the process of turning salt water into fresh water, could help provide water for growing gigacities. Desalination plants provide water for about 300 million people around the world today, especially in water-scarce regions like the Middle East. But desalination is much more expensive than pumping or piping, which has limited its use. And unfortunately, moisture farming technology only exists in a galaxy far, far away. Transportation is another challenge for megacities. If the Beijing region fully urbanized, the urban extent would be as large as the US state of Kansas or Great Britain. Getting from one side of the megacity to the other would pose a significant challenge. At that point, a city becomes so large that it loses some of its economic advantage. If a citizen can't benefit from that large job market because they can't get to a job in a timely fashion, well, they may move elsewhere. And it could discourage other people from moving there in the first place. This problem is already a reality for people in the Beijing region, where some residents of bedroom communities spend 5 to 6 hours a day commuting to and from their jobs. There's an upper limit to the amount of time any person can spend in transit to their jobs, and 5 or 6 hours a day is probably close to that limit. China is spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the Beijing region trying to tackle this enormous transportation challenge. They're building 24 new intercity high-speed rail lines by 2050, with 8 coming online this year. The goal is that it would take someone no more than 1 hour to get to the center of the region from anywhere in the periphery. This train network would help bind the region together economically, culturally, and socially. And just check out this long-range plan for the Pearl River Delta region's mass transit network. There are 19 intercity lines connecting to 10 metro systems. China is using a similar integration strategy in the Yangtze River Delta too, where citizens will be able to use 7 different metro systems using the same fare payment method. All sorts of healthcare, government administration, and education integrations are also in the works. So how big can cities get? Well, so long as the major urban planning issues are tackled, things like resource use, pollution, transportation, and economic integration, the only real limit is population demographics. For some, the idea of living in a city with 300 million people sounds terrible, while others might find it amazing. Millions of jobs within an hour train ride away, not to mention premier cultural institutions and every shop and restaurant you could ever want. The economic efficiencies can make the entire world more prosperous and lift more people out of poverty. As always, success or failure depends on implementation, which means that urban planners will have job security for the decades to come. In this video, I've tried to support my educated guesses with facts from a variety of sources, including the United Nations, the Pew Research Center, and other reputable news outlets. Now, if you'd like to hear my opinions on megacities and gigacities, you have to go to Nebula. An ad-free version of this video is waiting for you over there. In fact, this ad is replaced with me talking more about megacities. Nebula is where I post additional content of videos, and Nebula original videos, like my most recent original video, The Best Cities 2020, where I determine which city implemented the most cutting-edge urban policy for the year. Will the winner be Portland, Beijing, Paris, or Nairobi? You have to watch on Nebula to find out. Nebula is great, and it's made even better thanks to our
我也
partnership
知
with
道有人
Curiosity
喜欢
Stream.
安静的环境，
Curiosity Stream is
不
the
喜欢
source
这
for
种
high
城市环境，
quality
更别提
engaging
超级
documentaries.
都市环境
They。make thoughtful
我确实
content,
也
we
认
make
识有
thoughtful
朋友不喜
content
欢
on
的。
YouTube, and you can
不
get
过
it
我是
all for one
很对
super
越
low
密
price.
集，
We have a
我
deal
会
where
越
if you
觉
sign
得
up for
生活变。
Curiosity Stream using the link below, you get Nebula for free. That's not a
那
free
倒
trial,
房价
but
肯定
free
贵。
as long as you're a Curiosity Stream member. And they're running a promotion right now. You get an annual plan for 26% off. That's less than $15 per year for both Curiosity Stream and Nebula. Signing up is a great way of supporting this channel as well as the dozens of other creators working to make Nebula a success. It's also just a really great deal too. So please go to the link in the description and get yourself 26% off. Thanks.
这个角度好放松啊，看这些车流川流不息。我希望以后，当然现在主要是我不知道是硬件性能跟不上，还是就是做技术上做不出来，软件技术上，因为模拟速度就上不上去，而且你人数越多，它模拟速度越慢。就是说，如果我想要有天一个模拟城市游戏能做那种就是你知道那种延时曝光车流的效果，就是车已经形成了一条那种光轨一样。在那里穿梭那种，如果有一天模拟性能快到那个程度就好。现在只能靠长曝光来拍照的长曝光。如果游戏内的模拟速度能快到那种表现形式的话，会很有意思。
I was here last Tuesday.
Sheep and random.
Toaster works fine if you flip the bread.
Sheep and random.
What is that thing? What is that thing? What is that thing?
That is a frog nut extractor.
Sheep and random. You never know what you're gonna get, and you never will unless you come find out.
城市人口让我们看，失业率5.3%。话说为什么这个失业率还会有5.3%？谁要不去上班？我们有18万工作岗位，17万7000就业的人，也就是算有5000个工作岗位提供。不是，有5000个工作岗位没钱上，为什么会有50%的？当然，那肯定是就是不匹配，才能不匹配的导致的。我要建一所学校，找个人工岛，叫月空馆学园，倒是。哈哈。我们可以在这里做一个填海的岛，我觉得。到后面地方不够的，肯定都要填海。汇清川。高密度需求，空置建筑，可用劳工。低密度住宅需求非常之高。 狂涨。但是这铺大饼是不是有点过了？欧洲建筑我实在想不起来，我只能说，灵车又怎么了？天，你为什么在这儿？商业需求，为什么他们不见？那我放办公，你们见？这地方是不是就是高度不够导致的？哎，办公倒是建，这么多啊！为什么不建？为什么建办公呢？行吧，你们建办公就建办公，我都不介意。好，只要你们肯建就行。这个桥底是建这种办公或者商业的完美场所，高架底。综合管廊建设者，探索地铁奥秘。明日城市规划。不太空电梯吗？对，天际线1后面伟大工程电梯，天际线2还没有伟大工程这个东西。突然想，天际线2确实没有这个。不过我也忘了这是天际线1原版有还是后来更的，我也忘了。伟大工程有什么核聚变反应堆？哦，可能因为他们这一次感觉想走写实路线，就没做那些特离谱的。 太空电梯，但我还是希望有的。因为模拟城市2013最喜欢的一个内容就是那个Cities of Tomorrow， 我挺喜欢，应该做，希望以后出个 DLC 啥的。
How Singapore meets those challenges will decide its future. Today, our most innovative architects and urban planners are envisioning radical solutions that will transform the way we live. The Singapore of the future will be the city of our dreams. Today, 54% of the world's population lives in urban areas. By 2065, that percentage will be 80%. Over 40 cities will have become megacities. One of those megacities may be Singapore. Most future megacities will house their growing populations by expanding outward.
测试
But not
我不知道
Singapore.
现在好没好。
It's already built to the edges of its 720 square kilometer island.
Since the 1950s till now, we've reclaimed maybe about 20% of our island's footprint. But there is a limit. We can't keep reclaiming land.
With so little land left, Singapore needs to find a solution, and fast. And that's what's led some of our visionary architects to think where no one's thought before.
Because we have no way of expanding, the only way to develop for Singapore is upwards. It's not whether we go vertical or not, it's just how are we going to go vertical.
我们这边也要
Shirin Taraz and Alina Yeo are architects at the firm Woha. They believe that living high in the sky is the only solution to Singapore's future population growth. They call their concept the vertical city.
没有，这是
and
英字。
insist it can't be just a set of taller skyscrapers that simply reproduces existing building types and extends them into the sky. In their view, only a radical new vision of high-rise tropical living can achieve a livable future Singapore, whose people may live their lives 60 or even 100 stories in the sky. The vertical city will have to convince tens of thousands of people to do something human beings have never done before. Spend their lives as much as 500 meters above the earth. Not an easy task, since many Singaporeans can only imagine a vertical city as a kind of giant public housing block in the sky.
The typical high-rise that we have as of now is very monofunctional. So you either live in it or you work in it. If you always stack the same thing, one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, it is so monotonous. Your environment is not exactly inspiring.
We know that we have all the capacities to build very high buildings. We have a capacity to make high-speed lifts that will deliver people to those elevated places. But whether anybody would want to live in one of those spaces, what would be the mental health? Do we really know what it means to live in one of these efficient, elevated spaces in the sky?
It's so easy to get seduced into thinking that mega cities are about mega structures. And they're not. They are about the human being that lives in each of these mega buildings. That's where we need to start thinking as we become more and more into mega cities, higher density and taller buildings. People tend to get more isolated in their living conditions. They prefer privacy over community, and it's incumbent almost upon the architects or the planners to create spaces where people can still come together.
We want to bring it down to very fundamental questions. How can we build in such a way that our buildings are liked by the people inhabiting them?
Designing a home in the sky for an earthbound species will be challenging enough. But the vertical city's architects must also create a home for all Singaporeans. For all of history, multi-ethnic city dwellers have dealt with the tensions caused by cultural differences by living apart in their own neighborhoods. Singapore succeeded in mixing its diverse cultures when it introduced HDB housing in the late 1960s. And vertical city advocates are confident that success will continue.
这寸土寸金的地方可容不得这样浪费啊！
We took a very careful approach to make sure that the different races and of different culture will be able to intermix within that particular development. Today we built public housing of 55 stories. They are all designed with a mind of mixing the different ethnic culture so that they can blend together and not have any segregation. So to build 100 stories is no different.
But the vertical city's people won't just be ethnically diverse. Many of them will also be old. Singapore's population is rapidly aging. In 2065, 1 out of 2 may be over 65. Experts wonder, how will a record number of elderly cope with life in a vertical city?
A city which is well designed for an aging population is a well-designed city, full stop. To try and design for the city that really includes everybody. As designers, it's a reminder and the way in which cities, historically, the best cities are inclusive cities, socially inclusive cities.
The architects of Singapore's future must create a new world. There's no model for what must be done, so the architects are envisaging a radical shift away from the traditional apartment block.
I guess we'll have to infill in some spots.
While pondering how high future buildings must go. Woha's vertical city prototype would house 5 million people over 45 square kilometers. The population density would be approximately 100,000 people per square kilometer. That's 10 times more people than Singapore's city centre today. Living in buildings that would tower over Singapore's current skyline. A multi-layered, multifunctional mega structure.
模拟城市里面的超级巨塔特有意思。
And a massive concentration of humanity.
但听这纪录片里面这描述，我总感觉像那个《杀出重围》里面那个城市叫什么来着？那个2层的，我靠，《杀出重围》里面有个城。
This could be really like functioning like
上面一层，下面一层，上面一层就是基于下面一层往上再。
You organize them such that they have easy access to a communal floor, where you may have some basic amenities, both for the young and the old.
Creating urban villages in the sky will require recreating today's living spaces hundreds of meters above the ground. So it's critical we better understand how we use and connect these new elevated neighborhoods. By its 100th birthday, Singapore will have designed and built something never tried before. An urban infrastructure some 100 stories high. But how will its residents like living in the sky? When Singapore turns 100 in the year 2065, tens of thousands of Singaporeans will be living hundreds of meters in the sky. And Singapore's landscape will be dominated by a new and radical urban structure. The vertical city. Without doubt, 100-story buildings will make Singapore's future skyline an awesome sight. But what will it feel like to call these megastructures home? If the Singapore of 2065 will be housing its people high in the sky, it will have to give them more than just shelter. The vertical city must be a livable city. And that's the biggest challenge for those designing Singapore's future. Designers will have to address our deep and powerful need to feel connected to the ground.
There's something intrinsically human about moving over the horizontal plane, because as human beings we still can only walk horizontally, and the whole vertical movement is not quite ours. And so all communication areas, congregation areas, communal spaces are typically horizontal. You stroll along a boulevard, you walk along a street, you walk along a river, you walk. You hardly ever have deep and meaningful conversations as you climb the stairs or are in a lift. So those horizontal spaces as community and public spaces are absolutely crucial for human beings to live together.
To create a livable city that attracts residents from the ground into the sky will require a radical shift in thinking. Trained for planning in 2 dimensions on the ground, future urban planners will have to envision entire neighborhoods relocated from the horizontal plane of Earth into the vertical dimension of sky. For the first time, they'll have to think in the 3rd dimension.
You have to elevate current urban planning, which is still a very 2-dimensional way of looking at the city. You have to elevate that into the 3rd dimension. So we can no longer say this is an industrial zone and this is an agricultural zone and this is a residential zone, because I think all these things need to be stacked vertically on top of each other.
Was this one an idea of? This is an idea of overlay.
The architects envisage layers of public space interspersed with residential and commercial layers within the structure.
A vertical city really has multiple layers, so we're talking about multiple ground levels.
On which we then have maybe a residential component, then maybe on another layer we have an office component, on an interim layer maybe we have the schools, on another layer maybe we have healthcare facilities. So rather than the conventional city that is spread out, we're taking the city and we're stacking it vertically.
But do the experts know how the residents will react to this new layered space?
When we're thinking about future cities, we have to really understand how people operate, how people are physiologically, but we also have to think about how people are cognitively, that is how their brains process their own presence in cities, in crowds, or in isolated situations. This is no trivial fact, because we're inventing a new kind of public space.
These are the eye tracker glasses. There are 3 cameras, one is outside, and there are 2 cameras down here.
To better understand how the human brain might process a complex new environment, researchers turn to the closest multifunctional and multi-layered space available: shopping malls.
One element of that research is to use what's called eye tracking glasses. These are glasses that have little cameras that record the movement of the eyes and tell you where people have been looking, what elements in the environment they have seen, and what may be vital information they have overlooked. Another set of tools that is now emerging is to use physiological data on the move. That is to measure, for example, the skin conductance, which is a sign of stress or arousal, to measure heart rate while you're moving around.
So your goal destination is this free store located on the 3rd level of this building. Please do not use any map.
我们现在开始分层搞这个地。市中心可是寸土寸金啊。
That's how people navigate in the environment, how they learn new places, how they remember places they've been before, how they make choices. And in particular, we're looking on multi-level environments like shopping malls or complex buildings. So where people have not only to find their way in one dimension, the horizontal dimension, but also vertically, because this is more complex and people use different strategies and different heuristics to find their way.
Recording how we experience and mentally map a multi-level cityscape allows researchers to develop designs that better accommodate the flow of people.
Where do people look? What do they pay attention to? What is important to them? Some of us look more at people, some of us look more at displays, some of us look more at signs. If you look at sufficiently many people and integrate that data, you find specific patterns. The overarching question for us is, how do people behave and how do people experience the built environment? Urban living can be very stressful if the environment is not designed right.
If they look around, they might see that there's a corridor here, so they might pick this one.
Architects and urban planners can use our insights to make better decisions about the design of buildings and about the structure of city layouts. You don't want to live in a box. You want to live in an interesting urban environment.
But how will architects recreate interesting urban environments in the sky where space will be at a premium? How will they design a vertical environment that guarantees its residents the same freedom to move they would have on the ground? In 2015, Woha debuted a new vertical living concept that might be the model for Singapore's future. Public housing project Skyville on Dawson organizes living space into a series of stacked villages, grouped around green areas called sky gardens.
They break down the overall volume into towers. And these towers by themselves are broken down into smaller neighborhoods. So once you reach a critical number, they would put a sky garden, that the people that live around that area can share.
We wanted to test out was the question of creating community spaces at great height.
Each of them contains 80 homes, and you can kind of feel like psychologically you feel you can know your neighbors when you're 1 in 80 versus when you're 1 in 1,000. That's the kind of sense of community and ownership and shared space that you can have. You can look down on your village green or your sky garden and be able to see your neighbors. Your children can have play there, you can call them back for dinner and things like that.
Horizontally linking the layers created more living space, a strategy Woha employed on a larger scale in its vertical city prototype.
And as we get more vertical, it is also very crucial to become more horizontal.
In the vertical city, the ground layer multiplies upward into massive horizontal platforms. The horizontal platforms are built every 20 stories to provide public spaces and transportation normally found on the ground. Underground subways are elevated into the sky.
For instance, you could have a whole public street that interconnects different buildings, and people can get from this building and this development to the other one And that could incorporate your public transport systems. So the version of the MRT that we have today could take on other forms of people mover systems that bring you from point to point.
In a way, the connectivity between the buildings, whether at different levels, diagonally or horizontally, is an important aspect of vertical cities. That can be through walkways, that could be through roads, that could be through light rail, connecting between all the different buildings to make sure that the mobility between these few buildings are enhanced.
But replicating and connecting a horizontal world in a vertical city won't be easy. Designing sky living to be as livable as possible will require more than just creating and linking space. It will mean understanding how human beings experience and move through their living space.
What do you see?
I saw people walking around the lane.
Do you like the street?
If there is no car, it's fine.
To do this as economically as possible, a team at Future City Laboratories is carrying out virtual reality research that could help architects develop their concepts.
Active mobility basically deals with all the active forms of transport like walking and cycling. What we're trying to understand through our research here, how can we design better cycling infrastructure so that people make the choice to cycle?
Oh, I prefer this part. Why? Yeah. No pedestrians, no cars.
Virtual reality goes beyond simply visualizing possible futures. By immersing volunteers in virtual worlds, it allows architects to test out concepts and discover their flaws before designs become reality.
Take the 3D model from the buildings, the street, the new design, and the simulation with all the cars, bicycles, motorists, cyclists. And I combine all that into a game engine that allows us to create a virtual reality experience. It gives you the sense that you're in this virtual world and that whatever you're doing
给这帮刁民留好了一个高密度住宅的区域在这个坡上。这个地方就是最难的地方，就是如何把这个坡利用好，但是也是最有挑战性的、最有意思的时候。到底如何把这个坡度利用起来
？Going to encourage people to have a exercisable environment, and that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Second street with the bicycling lanes? Yes, I will.
And we want to also understand how this remains a viable, attractive mode of transportation and is not in conflict with all the new future mobility systems. So that's the larger goal of the project.
By 2065, the vertical city could be well on its way from today's radical visionary concept to the new normal for thousands of Singaporeans, and a solution to Singapore's growing population. But only if its designers can eliminate a dangerous flaw. They've discovered that their city in the sky has a dark side. And that
我靠，这图好像新亚特兰蒂斯啊，怎么感觉？这概念，那个风格。刚才，尤其是刚才那张的层次。
When Singapore celebrates its 100th Independence Day, the Singapore skyline may be dominated by vertical cities, homes to thousands of people living hundreds of meters in the air. These vertical cities could solve Singapore's population problem. But they could also make another problem much worse. Climate change.
Until 2065, we should be seeing a rise in both average temperatures as well as for maximum temperatures and minimum temperatures. The bottom line is Singapore is going to get hotter.
Winston Chow has been studying the ramifications of climate change on Singapore and the region.
Currently, the maximum temperatures we can expect to get in Singapore is about 35 degrees Celsius. It's likely that it will increase to higher, maybe 36, 37 degrees. So if you were to stay outdoors when these sort of temperatures hit, you will be having a greater likelihood of heat stress or heat stroke.
Singapore's location on the equator already makes it hot. But as it's become more urbanized, it's become even hotter. Many of its skyscrapers are copies of structures in the West. While the classic skyscraper works well in the colder climates of the US and Europe, it's not appropriate for Singapore's tropical conditions.
The skyscraper is developed to be as compact as possible, which makes sense in a temperate climate and in an environment where you largely want to keep, separate outdoor air from indoor air. Those typologies were not meant for the tropics in the first place. And you could not really tell the difference whether that building was standing in Shanghai or New York or Singapore, even though it's a completely different climate.
The air conditioning needed to cool the interiors of large closed buildings contributes to a dangerous phenomenon called the urban heat island.
When you convert a rainforest to a city, so you've got buildings and you've got roads, what happens is that you trap in more heat. And this heat gets re-radiated out, especially at night, on top of whatever waste heat that is generated by air conditioning. And this contributes to a more warm urban environment compared to your rural surroundings.
Dr. Heiko Eit has spent 10 years in Singapore. For the last 4 years, he's been investigating how to diminish the urban heat island effect.
In Singapore, it's a very pressing issue. We are at the equator, it's pretty hot here anyway. And in Singapore, the urban heat island effect is completely negative. In other cities, in other parts of the world, the urban heat island effect may have some positive effects. In winter, for instance, it could be a bit warmer and not as cold. There are several factors. One, of course, is radiation. At the moment, we can feel it. The sun is shining. It feels quite hot. That's radiation. The building, during the day, they expose the sunlight. They heat up. And at night, they're basically releasing this heat into the environment. And another part is contributed by the people who live here and our economic activities. Take traffic as an example. Roughly 20% of Singapore's overall energy consumption goes into the transport sector. All this energy is released in the form of waste heat. If you're lucky, there's wind and it somehow dissipates. But if you're not so lucky, it also gets trapped in the city. If you have a lot of high-rise buildings close to each other, you have those air conditioning units. Each of them is producing some waste heat, and hot air rises up. And therefore, with each floor, the air conditioning unit has to work harder and harder to cool down the inside. Of course, if it works harder, this means it needs to consume more energy.
There is a vicious cycle. If you use a lot of air conditioning in Singapore to cool your indoor environment, all that waste heat goes out and you contribute to the heat island. But how you power your air conditioning is primarily through fossil fuels. So there is that indirect feedback loop in which you use more fossil fuels and you contribute to more greenhouse gas emissions that trap in more heat in the atmosphere that causes climate change.
What we can do is make sure that we don't cause the temperature in the city to be even higher or to be increased even higher than what it's already increased by climate change.
Hey, what?
Even the most passionate advocates of vertical cities acknowledge that gigantic air-conditioned buildings housing thousands of people will make Singapore's urban heat island even hotter. But what if those buildings could help lower Singapore's temperature instead of raising it? As it turns out, there's a very simple way that they can. Researchers discovered that the temperature near trees and vegetation in the city was 2 to 3 degrees lower than the temperature in areas without vegetation. The greenery absorbs heat and provides shade, as well as removing carbon gases that contribute to climate change. Greening Singapore has already proven beneficial. Thanks to a national tree planting campaign in 1963, Singapore is now known as a city in a garden. 50 years later, in 2013, Woha took greening a building literally to the next level, in the Park Royal on Pickering. A test case for how the vertical city of the future could be kept cool without increasing the urban heat island.
This building incorporates 15,000 square meters of greenery, which is twice the footprint of the plot and roughly the same size as the adjacent park. We integrated about over 50 different plant species in these gardens and in these green features. So by integrating greenery within the building, we achieve many things. On one hand, it helps to combat the urban heat island effect. It also helps to
因为玩这种游戏的时候就应该看看纪录片。
It also helps with entirely
现在不看，早晚也要看。
kind of non-technical aspects.
The plants also provide psychological benefits.
For human beings to be surrounded by nature, there's a connection called biophilia. So it's the love of anything natural around us. And there's an inner need for us human beings to be surrounded by nature, be it either really as a view, so if you look out of the window to see some greenery, or as a garden that you can literally walk into and wander around and smell flowers, etc., has a massive impact on our well-being.
So up to 50% of the corridors here are naturally ventilated. It's all part of a passive design strategy, where we incorporate greenery as well as fresh air.
Like a natural ecosystem, the plants don't consume any energy.
So all of these sky gardens are actually self-sustaining with minimal resources needed. I think we'll definitely let it grow out some more, but not in a sense of like overtaking the building entirely.
Park Royal demonstrates a greening concept that could go mega in the future. A future that can see nature not only being added to designs, but driving design. A new form of smart, climate-sensitive architecture. This pavilion was constructed for Singapore's Future of Us exhibition in 2015.
Because it was a great opportunity for us to design a structure that also expresses the idea of what the future might bring.
Local climatic conditions dictated the design of the structure. To replicate the complexities of the surrounding environment, computers analyzed that environment to create the pavilion's structure.
Computational design allows you to calibrate the facade of a building very much to the environmental forces that it is exposed to.
Computers not only shaped the overall facade, but designed each unique panel.
You see these panels, they're all perforated in various ways. Each piece reacts specifically to the location that it sits in. They close in parts of the structure where you want to keep the sun out, and they open up in areas where you want to bring in prevailing winds to achieve a good cross ventilation. So it's almost like an artificial foliage that you walk under. We see there's a great potential for having smarter buildings for the future that not necessarily use a lot of technology. The technology is used up front.
Greening the vertical city would cut down its need for air conditioning, making it a livable space for its residents, while not making the city hotter. But futurists must do more to make the Singapore of 2065 a livable city. By then, a growing population will be creating travel gridlock on a scale unimaginable today. Unless the city re-envisions where its people live and work. So the Urban Redevelopment Authority has already begun developing 4 regional centres, where people can live and work without commuting across town.
The reason why we actually have more regional centres throughout the country is really to bring jobs to be closer to where people live. And by doing so, we can actually cut down the need for people's daily commute between work and home, and in the process, reduce traffic congestions between the city and towards the city.
Many futurists believe that green architecture and regional centres could make vertical cities the solution to creating a livable Singapore. But building energy-friendly homes for thousands in the sky won't be enough. By 2065, resources will be extremely precious. To be sustainable, it will be critical for the vertical city to be smart. As it enters its second half-century, Singapore is facing a looming crisis of expanding urban growth and relentless climate change. Those 2 challenges will put stress on the resources the vertical city will need to survive. The vertical city of the future will have to do everything it can to sustain itself.
If you want to create a future that is livable, then there's no other way than to make it a sustainable future.
Well, sustainability really is to be able to build in a way that preserves resources for the future generations as well. So it's thinking about the future by building sustainably today.
You need to be able to find models where people can live in such a manner that not only they can live like that for many years, but future generations, their children, their children's children, can still live in these environments.
Smart sustainability will be key to designing and building a successful vertical city. And not just in managing resource consumption. The vertical city itself must be smart. By 2065, all of Singapore could be managed by an integrated super app called Virtual Singapore. A digital platform that will make it possible to navigate the highly complex vertical city.
We visualize everything about Singapore, all the data about our life, our living. Virtual Singapore is an ambitious program. It's something that we have not done, and we look around, we don't find anyone doing. So it is sometimes like pathfinding.
Virtual Singapore aims to build a 3D map of Singapore by collating data previously scattered in various government agencies into a single platform. Data that details the city's infrastructure, its buildings, roads, and utilities. The app designers are also developing their own tools to aid mapping the city. They're using hand-phone cameras to take photographs of precisely surveyed points in the city, like streetlights and fire hydrants. By triangulating those photographs using a computer algorithm, they're able to precisely model the virtual city. Deploying drones allows them to add the third dimension of height to their virtual model.
What we want to do is to bring together in one single place all the 3D models of the city. And in that single place and platform that we provide a so-called common playground where we can produce applications on.
Virtual Singapore's applications will help city planners and residents prepare for the future by combining 3D maps with real-time data to run simulations anticipating problems like traffic congestion and water storage. Planners will be able to design long-term strategies for the city, as well as manage more basic, down-to-earth matters like new cycleways and street lighting. They'll also have access to a district's population density, the number of solar panels on its buildings, and its energy use. Residents could use the 3D tool to find the best evacuation route during an emergency. Parents could judge which path is safest for their children to get to school, and planners could then add better amenities along the most favored route. When it's finished, Virtual Singapore will be a powerful tool, unprecedented in the history of city planning, aiding Singapore's goal of becoming a truly smart city.
Traditionally, urban planning has almost like an engineering kind of approach. So you have different divisions that look after different aspects of the city. You look after transport, you look after the height of a building, you look after the sewer system, you look after power supply. You tick off one task after the other that you come to a pragmatic solution, but not necessarily a good solution. Everybody is looking after their specific task, but we really need to start a planning approach that is a lot more holistic and where we try to combine different things, combine infrastructure with architecture, combine cycle paths with drainage, combine power plants with industrial uses. And that requires a different way of thinking and requires a more holistic approach to planning to really come to more intelligent solutions. The vertical city can only be implemented with holistic thinking.
If holistic planning and sustainable architecture help Singapore overcome the challenges facing it, the nation could become a beacon for other mega cities in the region. But by 2065, climate change and urban overpopulation will be threatening the whole world. And the damage they do to cities and countries thousands of miles away from Singapore will threaten Singapore's survival. On its 100th birthday, Singapore will be faced with more than its own local problems. It will have to survive a changing world. And its future may lie far beyond the land and far beyond the sky.
地方真不好搞。 真艰难，但是我还是把这个地方给填的还行。真变态呀！我们这边要填一个这种展望回廊一样的地方，然后这里。这种多层就很好看，这样子。
This is an emergency broadcast to all citizens.
Increasing areas of forest are being engulfed by flames. The thick smoke rising from the fire makes the air dangerous to breathe. Citizens are advised to vacate any premises near the fires and remain at a safe distance until emergency services manage to get the fires under control.不是你们建成这样怎么不行啊？这个这样子，哎，我靠！不是拜托你就没有乘3的吗？死活不建乘3的，我就想给他来几拳。就是不建乘3的，操！行吧，你爱怎么样怎么样。这个层级总算开始利用起来了，这一直这个阶梯的地方都没有用到。
Now entering thick digital games. Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick? Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stops it to death?
你在干嘛？
Then come on down to Thick Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital! Thick Digital! It's all out war.
Are you setting a good example for your followers? Are you on a journey to find freshness? Are you tired of shopping at the dingy stores? Sure you are. That's why you go to Common Grocery.
想利用好这种坡度地方是不容易，但是效果也不错。
Hi, Stanley. Isn't this a lovely place to shop?
这坡度就是很难做，
Common Groceries. For twice
但
the
是只有
price,
保留坡度
it's
才有
twice
意
as
思，
nice.
要整个城市都是平的太没劲了。还有很多机会创造独特这种层叠的景观之类的。 对，所以你看我在搭平台，我这个坡上全是搭的平台，然后才放的房子，一个好多平台，1层、2层、3层。 这金门大桥里面这么多，哇！不过我现在把这些都保持在正常水平，也一直在狂赚，因为软件业太发达，软件业的税收我调到这是10几，12%，软件 我不知道它的单位时间是多少，但是我看看收入啊，1.3亿，软件硅谷啊，这是硅谷，太恐怖了。西雅图之类的湾区，那个之类的地方。反正旧金山、西雅图、洛杉矶那些城市，软件就很发达。这是城市的第3个客运港口。我这些运河就等它出小船的时候开始用。这边可以再搞片沙滩，我看。沙滩你要取的话，就是取这个水下面的一级，因为水上面的话，它会自动给你换成草地。但是你取这个非常浅的这一级，你就能保证它是沙滩的样子，然后你就可以画出沙滩了，像这样。这边要做个沙滩公园。 上个洗手间。他为什么会抽搐？他到底检测到了什么鬼东西？有点恐怖的这件事情，难道不是吗？
To Denny's Denims, where we got every denim you can imagine. We got square dance and foxtrots and hideaway at home dirty denims. Skirts and hats, belts and boots. We can cover you head to toe if that's what you like.
甚至层次感非常好，这城市通过这些平台打造出来的，每个都其实在不同平台让它鳞次栉比的一个体现。
Don't ask for Denny.
Now entering thick digital games. Prepare for sensory overload.
无论从任何角度看都是鳞次栉比，非常好。
Digital! Then come on down to Think Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital!
你先别看字幕，你先打完再去看回放，可以。对，哼。这厕所里的玩意儿，我也不敢说到底是啥，反正。 可惜它自动我等以后出 mod， 我把这些全换成酒店。出 mod 出 reco 以后就可以手动放，因为港口前面放一堆酒店才合理。它现在只能自长，有点怪导致。现在我其实在搭乘是最基础的雏形。哼，但是方便啊，你自己选吧。这第一个 DLC， 哎，要是没跳票早该出了，也就是说我早该建上那个真正的港口。我说 Steam 客服会不会接受你那种我想买高级版的退款请求？不知道。如果已经超过2小时，是不是也不行？就算是这样。 这边也想做个小沙滩。
Are you setting a good example for your followers? Are you on a journey to find freshness? Are you tired of shopping at the dingy stores? Sure you are. That's why you go to Common Groceries, the ultimate destination for the discerning shopper.
Why, hello, Janet.
Hi, Stanley.
Isn't this a lovely place to shop?
It sure is.
Common Groceries. For twice the price, it's twice as nice.
Now entering thick digital games. Prepare for sensory overload.
You want it thick. Digital! Are you a man or a mountain? Digital! You ready for a game that rips out your heart and stops it to death? Digital! Then come on down to Thick Digital and we'll hook you up to adrenaline overdrive. You won't be able to take much more of this, sir. Then hit them with everything we've got. Digital! Thick Digital! It's all out more.
这健身设施太漂亮了，直接伸向大海。公园是很重要的一个东西。这边是一个沙滩区，那边是一个沙滩区。